Hey everyone, welcome back to another tutorial on Spring Boot for beginners. Today we'll learn how to implement scheduled task in Spring Boot using three different scheduling methods: fixed rate, fixed delay, and cron expression. So if you don't know what is scheduling is basically a way so that a specific task run automatically in fixed rate or in a fixed interval or at a specific time like 6 p.m. in the morning or once every day or once every month, etc. Okay, so you know that sometimes we need to send email every morning or generate a report every hour or send some notification periodically like sending weather update in 3 hours. So all those purposes are served with Spring Scheduler for in Spring Boot application, and scheduling is very useful, and actually scheduling is almost everywhere. The world is running on scheduler, to be honest. I'll create a fresh new project from Spring Initializer, and from here I'll select a Maven project. The language is Java and the version is 3.4.3 and the latest stable version as of recording this tutorial. So group ID is com.scheduler and artifact is. So here I have configured the group ID, artifact ID, and the package name, and the packaging is jar, and the version of Java is 21. So here I have now add the dependency. So let's just add Spring Web so that we can start a server and work correctly. Spring Web have the web dependency and it have the built-in Apache Tomcat server. Okay, so let's create on generate and download it on my download folder. Once the project is downloaded, let's extract it with 7-zip. And here, as you can see, we have this app, and let's start with our IntelliJ. So I'm opening my IntelliJ IDEA and opening the project I have just downloaded, the extracted folder, and this is the folder I want to open. So I'm trusting the repository directory, and it is just being opened. Here I have opened my application scheduling app, and let's go to the main application Java, and let's see if everything works. Yeah, the IntelliJ actually cached the application's starting point, the profile. Let's start the project and see what happens. So as you can see, Spring Boot application started with port 8080. So we are ready to go. So first of all, let's create a new package for our scheduled job. Let's create a new package called scheduled task, and inside that I can create a new Java class called scheduler, and inside that class I can write some method, and those method will be annotated with scheduled annotation, and that method will have some param. So this scheduler class has to be a Spring component because Spring Boot application has to find this class and find the scheduled method inside the class. Okay, so for that, let's make this class a Spring Bean with component, and let's create a new method. This is a method which will be executing the fixed delay task. Like after every, let's say after every 10 seconds, this task will be executed, this method actually. So since we want to execute this method in a scheduled way, we have annotated this with at scheduled annotation, and the scheduled annotation have few parameters. So since we are trying to execute fixed delay for the first time, that have two parameter. One is initial delay, the initial delay after starting the application, and this is for the first time only, and the second one is fixed delay. Okay, so this parameter takes input in milliseconds. So if I put 1000, then it will execute after every 1 second. So let's put 5000 here. So after starting the application, every time after every 5 seconds, this method will be executed. Okay, so if the method execution times take, let's say 10 seconds, then the next execution will be after 15 seconds. Okay, so for this tutorial purpose, let's create a log configuration so that we can print on the console. So I have configured the a logger here. So inside this method, let's console log something, logger.info. It is automatically suggesting that line fixed delay task executed. Okay, so let's now run the application once again and see what happens. Here the application started. The log is not being printed because we have not actually enabled scheduling in our application. Okay, so above this class or in the main Spring Boot app class, I have to add a new annotation called enable scheduling. So this is very important. That's why scheduling is not enabled. So I can do this here. This gives us more control. Both will do the same thing, but for our more better organization, I'm placing it here. Okay, so let's rerun the application once again. Yeah, as you can see here, this is a thread name scheduling. The fixed delay task is executed. As you can see, it is being executed after every 5 times. If I want to hold here for 5 seconds more, then I can type thread.sleep. So let's run the application once again and see how long it takes. Earlier it took around 5 seconds. Now it is taking more than 5 seconds, right? So this is how you can execute the fixed delay task. Now let's see what is fixed rate execution means. This is different from fixed delay. Fixed rate means it will be executed after the specified time, no matter what. So if the task actually takes, let's say hypothetically, the task is taking 10 seconds or 15 seconds. If the fixed delay rate is 1 second, the task will be executed after every 1 second. Okay, that is how fixed rate work. But let's see if we actually see that happening or not, because there is something you need to know about fixed rate. Okay, so now it is executing after every 1 second. Let's say thread.sleep have 5 seconds, and let's rerun the application. Let's see if it starts working after every 1 second. No, actually it is not starting after every 1 second, because thread.sleep actually taking 5 seconds. So this is working like the fixed delay. Okay, if I disable thread.sleep and run, and I can see that it is executing every second now. So the thing is, fixed rate actually works after 1 second, but all scheduling tasks by default have only one thread allocated. That's why it is waiting for the earlier thread to complete. So how can we control the fixed rate? We can actually allocate the number of thread we want for our scheduled job. For that, we have to go to our application properties, or we can manually configure with a configuration class. So here, this is the property we have to configure. The one is default value. Spring task scheduling pool size is the property. So if I put 10 here, then once application is starting, it will allocate 10 operating system thread for this scheduling task, and they will be dedicated for scheduling task only. Okay, so this is one approach, but it can be resource heavy sometime. But 10 thread is not very costly. Let's say 2 megabyte per thread. Okay, so let's run this once again and see what happens. So here initial delay is 1 second. Let's run our application once again and see what happens. Now, as you can see, multiple thread is actually doing the job. You can see the thread number scheduling 1, 2, 4, 5, etc. Okay, so we have around 10 threads, and some of them are actually idle and some of them are actually working. If I want to have more control of our physical thread, I'm saying physical thread because from Java 21 we have virtual thread, and that is very efficient for some kind of task like a REST request call, logging, or an asynchronous task, right? Use the OS thread only when you need to do a very resource heavy task like video processing or anything like that, file processing. So we'll see how we can incorporate that into our scheduling. let's see how we can have more control of our scheduling thread. So here, this is one approach to just specify the thread pool scheduling. But if we want to rename our thread, then we can configure everything for that, for each of the thread. Okay, so let's create a new package here called config and create a new Java class called scheduled job thread config. Okay, and this class will be a Spring configuration class, since this is configuring the bean. And inside this configuration class, there will have a method annotated with Spring bean. Okay, so something like this. And here we are returning the thread pool task scheduler, which is coming from Spring framework.scheduling.concurrent. Okay, and this is actually creating a new bean, which is allocating the number of pool size. So we do not need this part. This is redundant now. And here we are setting the number of, we have to add the rate annotation before configuration. So this is fine now. Let's import it from configuration. The correct place is Spring framework.context.annotation. Okay, so now everything is looking great. We are returning a thread pool task scheduler bean from this method, and this is annotated with bean so that Spring understand that it has to have this bean in the application. Okay, this is thread pool task scheduler, new task scheduler, and the pool size is this. Now whatever name we set here, we'll see that take with m and rerun our application. Let's see what happens. Yeah, we are seeing take with m and the number of thread, the order of thread. So it is now using the 5 thread that is allocated for this thread. If you have multiple scheduled tasks, this 5 thread will be shared for all of them. So now let's go to scheduler back. So we have seen the fixed rate and fixed delay, and another one important and most used type for scheduling task is cron. And this cron is very widely used, and it is a standard approach to schedule things in production. So this cron parameter takes a regex like thing that have a fixed guideline for from a year to a month to a day to an hour to a second, any specific time for a year, and this will occur repeatedly. So if you want to execute a task once a year or once a month on a specific day, on a specific time, at a specific second, you can do that with cron. Here I have added a cron expression, and the IntelliJ intelligently understand the cron meaning means that it is every 5 seconds, and the star and star means actually every minute, every hour, every day of the month, and day of the week. So you can customize which day of the month and which day of the week. The order have meaning, each place have its own meaning. Let's now execute it once again and see what happens. Yeah, as you can see, it is saying the cron task is executed on every 5 seconds. So this is how we can utilize the schedule task to do things automatically and periodically. Now let's see how we can utilize the virtual thread from Java 21, as this is going to be the future, because virtual thread is something every developer should look into, every Java developer should look into when they are working with OS thread, if they can utilize. If the version of Java is not 21, then I think you can skip this part. But let's dive into virtual thread and how we can utilize this. And for that, it is very simple. We can just type thread dot start virtual thread, and it is actually takes a runnable task as lambda. So if I type this and this, it will complete automatically. So this is it is that simple. You can simply just type thread.start virtual thread, So now we are utilizing the virtual thread thing. If you want to have more control on virtual thread, you can actually create an executor service bean and inject that bean into this scheduler class, and then you can use that executor service for more control for virtual thread. But this is simple and can be used in any environment without any issue. So this is how we can utilize virtual thread on scheduled task. I think this is something interesting and very appropriate for most of the tasks and provide the maximum efficiency. So let's run this scheduled method once again and see what happens. It is saying that executing fixed delay task with virtual thread, and we are seeing the number of virtual thread. So if you want to learn more about virtual thread, you can learn that. I hope to make a new tutorial on virtual thread in the future. So in this tutorial, we have learned how we can automate the task that is required repeatedly at a fixed rate or fixed interval or at a specific time of the day or week or month. And we have learned how we can configure our OS threads for scheduled job like this. And we have also learned how we can utilize the virtual thread when scheduling tasks in Spring Boot. So I hope you have learned something out of this video. If you did, then please hit the like button. That means a lot for me and motivate me to make more helpful content, and subscribe for more Spring Boot and other related tech tutorial. That's all for this tutorial. Happy scheduling.